Present?
Raleigh. Present. Commissioner Slater Carter. Commissioner Domerat and Commissioner Matoush.
Good. All right, first up, we have public comments. It's an opportunity for members of the public to comment on items that are not on the agenda. We have one.
We have Chad Hooker.
Hi, I've just got a couple questions of clarification. I don't think I've met any of you before, except with the exception of Virginia, whom we met at the Long Branch for your.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the guy who spilled red wine all over your paperwork.
Completely out of context. Completely out of context.
In any event, I have two questions, and the first pertains to benches in the area of the Coastside Trail and Harbor that you guys control. I went online and tried to get through the weeds to figure this out, and I couldn't figure it out, so I thought I'd just come and ask you if you have a policy on that. A very good friend of mine who was active here on the coast for many years trying ever since to find a place to put a memorial bench for him. There used to be 2 memorial benches that looked over Surfers Beach. Now there are 4 benches, but the 2 new ones do not have a recess in the back for a bronze plaque or anything like that. And I'm sure there's a policy if somebody just ran along and screwed a bronze plaque on there, you guys probably wouldn't be very happy. So I'm wondering also about other locations for benches. Is there a plan? Is there a policy? Can I buy a bench? Can you guys provide a bench? Can a bench be put in as a memorial bench? As a sidelight, I'd mentioned that the state controls from the south end of your control is state parks all the way down to Kelly Avenue. Then you get into the city of Half Moon Bay. They have no policy. They have no one working on a policy. They have an 11-year waiting list for people wanting to put up memorial benches, and they're lost in it. And if anything happens, it'll probably be that they'll hire a consultant to tell them what to do. So anyway, 2 benches. I wondered if there's a policy I can read, if you guys have any ideas on this. I don't know.
But
Can't respond.
I'd be happy to talk to you. MWSD is considered tragically killed.
How can I get answers since you guys can't
So
respond?
I'll ask the question for Jim about the bench. So Jim, is that through the county? Because there was a bench that was put there from one of the businesses years ago when that he made. Have you seen that bench, the one that's now a little weathered? And it was new, and so I don't know how that, I have an idea how that got there, but I thought that the county actually controlled that part of bench placement and even, I don't know.
All the bench placements are on district property or the
Right.
district's responsibility or authority. We do have at one point it was written policy on that. And it's kind of dated right now, but Mr. Moran have a little bit more information on it, but the best person to talk to about the memorial bench program and where to put a bench and if there's any space available is the harbor master. And then he works with us to see if it's possible.
I just want to make sure that the county doesn't have to be involved.
County doesn't need to be involved, it's just us.
So, because I've been wondering this myself, like if we were to pay, if I wanted to do something like that, does the money go to the harbor district
Yes.
or to the county? Okay, to the harbor district.
Covers any cost that we have.
But I always wondered that since that bench was put out there, and that was on a memorial bench. I think it just got placed out there. Okay.
Some benches in the hit back in the day were just placed out there by the individuals with no paperwork at all, but we have several memorial benches throughout the harbor. Space is becoming an issue, so we're trying to work on the space issue. But
Reserve our spaces if we want one. Is that what you're saying?
So that's why it comes down to working with the harbor master, if there's a space available, and then the harbor master works with the director of operations to get programmatic review on the overview of it, and then
As Director of Operations, I can say that in the past, we've had, as I'm sure, Mr. you're aware of, since you've already done some research, public entities get inundated with a lot of requests. And in the 8 years I've been here, we've already had a lot of requests, and we've already got benches everywhere we need them at present. At board's direction, general manager's direction, I could come up with a policy regarding how we would evaluate to determine suitable or acceptable people to put on a bench, because obviously anybody that we would want to put on a bench would have to be vetted by some means. We currently, if we do currently have a bench that has no plaque on it, I gotta say, I was unaware of it. It's probably been one that's been put in just because, again, we have not created a list. I believe that if we were going to make a decision to accept new plaques for benches, that we should have a policy about how we go about doing that, and then advertise and create some sort of a lottery or something.
Mr. Chairman, I just recommend that we put this on an agenda.
I was gonna say.
I think that makes
I
sense.
was gonna ask for that, but that item isn't even on here, so I'll put it in my commission report to actually see if we can, put this issue on a future agenda.
Actually, I'd like to make that direct request.
That's fine with me.
Because we need,
No, it's not on the
since,
agenda, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Bill.
since
Oh, that's
our,
right.
Well,
I, can I finish?
yeah.
Just trying to.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
Okay. You'll have an opportunity to
I have made
talk.
that request.
Okay,
Do I need to follow upcoming agendas to see where this is, or could I somehow be notified, or how does that work?
If you could just follow up with Director of Operations.
Okay.
Shoot me your email, and I'll be able to notify you once the staff report's been.
Excellent, okay. This is well past 2 minutes. Do I have time for my second question? This is not something that I would expect you to come up with an answer for today, but to think about some. I'm the chairman of the Dream Machines event. We just had our 30th year, and it was very successful. We changed the event around a good deal so that all the spectator parking comes in off Capistrano Road. Because of the late April rains, Jacopi's bean fields got flooded out, and there were some areas that had been prepped for farming that they were unable to use, so we were able to park cars there. But in future years, I expect we'll run out of parking. The American Legion Post has a junior troop, Sons of the American Legion, I think they're called, and they parked cars on some of Keith's property. There's the remaining 300 spaces or something that's Harbor District property. If in a future year, this board was approached for use of that space on Dream Machine Sunday, which is the last Sunday in April, is it worth coming back and spending your time on this, or is this something you couldn't give permission to? This is assuming that there would be people there to direct the traffic in, park the cars, and then, it's a long walk from
but
there.
I think I just suggest to talk to a general manager.
Okay, so this is not a board issue.
Commercial activity permit, which Melanie could handle, explaining to you how to apply for a commercial activity permit.
Thank you all for your time.
I have a
Thanks.
quick question.
Thank you.
How much does the county charge for parking on here?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I have a meeting with Ray Mueller this afternoon about this very issue because for many years, we were billed $4,000 a year for airport fees. That was the initial understanding with the Board of Supervisors 30 years ago when Bob Senn set that up. That lasted for about 15 years, and then they pushed it to 5, and then it began to be 5 plus their expenses. 5 jumped to 9, jumped to 13, and this year they billed, 13,000 was the bill in 2019, which was the last time we had the event before COVID. This year, they billed us over $25,000. And they're one of those organizations that is expected to recover its costs. But,
It's an enterprise district,
yeah,
like the stormwater problems, they want to charge everyone who lives here because apparently we're an enterprise section of the county.
yes, and I can understand where the Board of Supervisors has said, this has the appearance of being a small club airfield for some guys wealthy enough to own airplanes. Somehow you have to recover your own costs, don't come to the county and ask us for a few $1,000,000. I get that. At the same time, Dream Machines, Pumpkin Festival, and a few events like that require the support of the Sheriff's Department and public use of property. And frankly, it's not running Dream Machines if we wind up having to pay the county $50,000 for the use of the airfield and to pay the sheriffs. The sheriffs have been extremely generous over many, many years and hardly billed us at all. But we've gotten our warning letter, look out for next year, so.
Since I can't leave the table because I don't want to break the quorum, would you give me a call?
If I go on the website, can I get phone numbers and contacts and such from you guys?
Yeah, or MWSD. There's a lot of discussion I'd like to have with you.
Okay, that'd be wonderful. Thank you for your time today. I think I'll abandon you to the rest of your agenda. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Now we will, do we have any hands raised for other public comment?
No hands raised online.
Okay, I will open it now for commissioner comments. Catherine?
No, I do want to make sure we get that item on the agenda and, successful, glad to hear we have signs going up. Hopefully we will have little flags, like used car lots or something on the signs so that people will notice them. Or advertising does create foot traffic. And I believe the Harbor District is in a position where we're trying to figure out and we should be looking closely at whether people come and when they do come, what they're doing. See that keeping track through our staff and so on and who's coming, but we have so much traffic on Highway 1. Nobody knows that at that stoplight, there's this amazing place.
Yeah.
All they have to do is turn left and turn left again, and here we are. Beach access and everything. We don't even have a beach access sign on the highway. Get people to come to our public beaches at the harbor. Keaton Airhan has a big sign on Highway 1 with all of, to increase his rents. We don't. Ours is over with small print that you can't even read from the harbor, from the highway. So I'd like for us to be finding ways to support and encourage people to come to our food trucks. I think it's going to be more fun, and also we can encourage more people to more activities, more support for the harbor. And perhaps what we'd like to do is, when we're talking about memorial benches, maybe put in some memorial tables. This table in honor of so-and-so, and then people can go buy their food at the food truck and have a place to sit.
Virginia?
I agree with Catherine about putting the memorial bench item on a future agenda. I think it's important for us to understand what the policies are, or update old policies, something, just so that we've got it updated. and there are people can look to that if needed. Bill and I and Jim met with Supervisor Noelia Corzo in her office for a visit to the harbor, for her visit to the harbor, and we took out one of the boats, the patrol boats, to Mavericks, and they had a great time. And I think that they were impressed by the harbor and all the work that we've been doing. That's the feedback I've gotten. So congratulations and thanks to the staff for helping to make that a successful visit for Supervisor Corzo and her intern and also one of her legislative aides. And also, I agree with Catherine regarding the food trucks. By total fluke, Bill, Catherine, and I decided we were going to, and Jim, support the first day of the food trucks when we had two. And it was, I think it had, well, at least at that time of what we saw, it had a relatively decent reception. And I think that may have been the first test case for that. I don't know. I didn't get to go last Friday. So, I don't know what the turnout was for that, but I thought it was very convenient. And when we went, it was actually quite a nice day.
It was a very nice day.
Yeah, and it was just nice to be able to sit outside, to be able to eat outside and be at the harbor. So I hope that the restaurant situation fixes itself moves along, not fixes itself, moves along with relative ease, because I think people want to be at the harbor. And there were some people who came by and they were like, oh, are these restaurants open? And none of the restaurants, remember that? Some pedestrians, some visitors, they were walking by. So the sooner we get the restaurants open, the better. But in the meantime, I think the food trucks are going to be a success, as Catherine said. Thank you.
And thanks to the district staff that helped make that food truck
Yeah.
occurrence happen. Okay, moving along, we'll go to activities reports. I think what we'll do is we'll have the three activities reports, and I'll open it for public comment and then commissioner comments. So, Jim.
Just one correction to my report. I was not able to attend the new retail building meeting as noted in my activity report. But other than that, nothing else to report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Operations.
Everything's going very well at both marinas. We have 90% occupancy at Pillar Point Harbor, 83% occupancy at Oyster Point, which is very good for both facilities. On July 22nd, the district hosted the Farm Fish and Flowers event, which was very successful. Our efforts were led by Training Officer Carrie Smith. There was only positive feedback from that, so it was very well done by Carrie Smith. The food trucks, as has already been mentioned, have been a success at Pillar Point Harbor. Last weekend, Sam's truck was very busy. I think we had 3 total food trucks. This weekend at present, I think we've only got a commitment from 1. And we're going to continue trying to work with the food trucks to accommodate that. There's, there's always some challenges that we have to address with regard to very limited space, especially on the weekends. Like this last weekend, actually, just most of this week, because Albacore, our launch ramp has been very, very busy, and all of our parking has been taken up, all of it for the launch ramps as well. So parking is always very, very limited, and of course the food trucks take up not only some potential parking spaces depending on where we put them, but also the lines. If we don't have them positioned where people can wait in line without interfering with traffic, becomes a safety issue as well. So we're continuing trying to evolve to where the best place to place them at. And we had a meeting actually this morning with the general manager who came up with some additional ideas run by staff there. Other than that, everything is going quite well. Nothing else to report.
Okay. Julie.
Oh, wait, can I?
Oh, no,
On a question.
why don't we do that at the end? I'll
Okay.
just run through these.
Okay.
Julie, go ahead.
Good afternoon, President Zumke, Commissioners. Staff's worked on the submittal of 2 surrendered and abandoned vessel reimbursement claims for the destruction of 8 vessels. So we're continuing to get caught up with the collections process, and operations is doing a great job getting boats that need to be demolished out of the harbor and those that aren't paying. We currently have about $300,000 in past due accounts, and that's significantly down from $758,000 in May. So there's a lot of progress there. In addition, we are closing our fiscal year end. June 30th was the last day of our fiscal year end, so we're doing a lot of accrual and getting quotes from audit firms for our year-end audit. We've made progress in reviewing old documents and destroying records. And we opened a recruitment for a deputy harbor master, and currently we have 2 vacancies. And we're also in the process of getting quotes for new office furniture for the admin office, trying to spruce the place up, getting rid of paper and getting nicer, more put together places for people to work here. So that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any hands raised for public comment on the activities?
Yes, John Olam.
Okay, John?
Thank you, President Zemke. This will probably be the last day that I'll be able to participate in public meetings at the Harbor District. And I see you're all in a really good mood today. You're answering questions and taking on topics. One of the things that should have been reported in the manager's report is the status of PRA requests. As you know, we live in a country that has really lost faith in almost all of its institutions. And there's a reason why that is. It's because the people who supposedly serve us serve themselves. A month ago, more than 28 days ago, I asked for a very simple Public Record Act request. Named some very specific documents that I had seen before that I expected to be provided to me before today's meeting, and barely got anything. And have received no updates from your lawyer, even though the Public Records Act requires that you tell me when you're going to answer or ask for a 10-day extension or a 14-day extension. Apparently, the way this board treats people, it does not really care. The district no longer cares about satisfying Public Records Act requests, or at least not in a timely manner that would allow people to gather information that they would like to present on topics that you are going to vote on. This is not right. So I'd like an explanation of why I have not received all of the requests that I've asked for, or at least some sort of updates telling me when I'm going to get them, and why your lawyer isn't doing her job. Thank you.
For a comment, would Jim, you care to respond to that, or?
No,
Okay.
was corrected.
Okay. No more hands raised? Okay, Commissioner comments on the activity report. Virginia.
Thank you. John, just a quick question. You said that with regard to the food trucks, you said that you have one that's ready to come this week, right?
That's what I think we've had confirmed this thus far. Melanie, can you
So-
answer to that?
But so my question is, what is the process to get them here?
Melanie's been working on
Okay.
it for us.
Call everybody, basically, email everybody. So if you know anybody, give me,
But is there a plan to, like, how many we're trying to get? Is there a food truck plan?
well, we're trying to get about 2 or 3 every day, Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays.
And so are we getting repeat food trucks?
Yes.
Okay. So how many are in the circulation that we're looking at?
So about 5 or 6 are interested. It was actually really, you had to call a ton of people.
Yeah.
And then also the schedules, a lot of them want to come, but they're already, farmers markets and all that type of stuff. They're already committed to other places.
If I know of any, I'll.
Yeah, if anybody
I didn't-
knows of any of them, just email me.
Any other commissioner comments on activities reports? Okay. Excuse me, moving to the next item, the consent calendar. Are there items?
No hands raised.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent calendar.
Just,
Yes.
if I could remove item 9 from the consent
Ah,
calendar.
okay, we will.
Okay, I'll amend my motion
I'll
to,
amend my second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve items number 1 through 8 on the consent calendar. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Chang Crawley,
aye?
Commissioner Slater Carter,
Yes.
President Zemke.
Aye. Okay, moving on to discussion items, slip rates, commercial fishing vessels. Mr. Pruitt.
President Zemke, Commissioners, thank you. Every year we present amended rates and fees for the district, and the board has considered those and reviewed those and approved the current rates schedule. But at the last meeting, and over that time period, we've received a lot of feedback on effect it's having on our commercial fishing. And the board asked us to look into further if there's any way we can assist or help the commercial fishing industry. In response to that, we held a public meeting, or a public workshop with the fishermen. And we had 20 fishermen show up in person and 20 additional fishermen show up via Zoom. And it was a very active dialogue between us and received a lot of great input from them. The themes that came out of there were several different themes developed, but the general theme was any relief would be appreciated based on the economic disaster created by the closure of the salmon season. We also have to consider the closure of nearshore rockfish until July timeframe was also substantial impact to our fishing fleet because they had to go out substantial distances to get the groundfish. And the crab season this year in the 22-2023 was set. So all negative impacts, and it impacted not only the commercial fishermen, but our charter boats and our six-pack operations. The charter, as one indication, the charter fishing business, the small passenger vessel charters was significantly impacted by the nearshore rockfish closure. During the same time period last year, there was a significant drop in passenger service fees from $8,600 to now, when it was same time period, is $3,200. So a very significant difference in passenger users, which means a significant drop in the number of passengers and the number of trips that they were able to do. Another one was the harbor is a community and it works together as a community. And when one part of that community is down, it negatively impacts the rest of the community. The ice house is down, so that affects the commercial fishing industry again. But also the foot traffic in the harbor is significantly reduced because the restaurants are down. And then on the coast side itself, from the Chamber of Commerce, lodging's almost at a 50% level from last year of people coming to visit the coast. So adding all that up, it's not only negatively impacted just the commercial fishermen, but again, the other customer service-based businesses like charter boats and off-the-boat sales and six packs. There was a few voices where recreational boaters, one say they're part of the fabric, and I agree with that, of the harbor. And they also said they should be included in the conversation and any relief. So I put some numbers together as an amendment to the rates and fees for the district to consider. If we do want to change the rates and fees, we can, for commercial passenger vessels and six-pack operators, we can reduce or cancel the passenger service fee for the remainder of fiscal year 2023, 2024. Commercial fishing vessels, we can, they already get a discount for being on the commercial docks. They also get a 15% discount on top of that as a commercial fishing vessel. But if we wanted to even do more, we can add another discount rate to that. What we're suggesting is dropping it down to, say here, remainder of, so effective September 1st and the remainder of fiscal year 2023, 2024, reduce the slip fees by an additional 10% for a total of 25% for active fishing vessels. And an active fishing vessel is a fishing vessel that has landing tickets in Pillar Point Harbor within the last 18 months. And that would impact the harbor by an example of a 40-foot commercial fishing vessel that would represent a reduction in commercial fishing rate of $440 a month, which includes the increase of the 2.8 that the board approved, down to $330 a month, or a difference of $110 a month. The $330 or 33, the 330 is 33 less per month, less than the fiscal year 2022-2023 rate, so we're dropping below. Then off the boat permits, eliminate the boat permit fee for the remainder of fiscal year 2023-2024, which means for those applying for a permit for the crab season coming up, they would be, the $290 fee would be waived. If we implemented the above recommendations, it would represent a $38,000 loss to the district.
For the remainder of the fiscal year, or the whole, I'm sorry, the whole fiscal year?
In fiscal year 2023-2024.
Oh, next, okay.
Yeah.
So it's our fiscal year that we're in right now.
Now, yeah, that's
We
what I
have to
mean.
reduce the budget somewhere else by
Like 38,000, yeah, I saw that.
And then you can see on the next page where the expected losses come from.
Yeah.
Six-pack operators would be 4,000, commercial fishing 28,000, and then off-the-boat permit fees would be 6,000. With respect to the recreational vessels, our policy has been for several years now is to raise the rates and fees by the CPI, which was 5.6 this year, and the board declined to implement a 5.6 and instead implemented a 2.3?
Yeah, that was the midpoint.
Midpoint, 2.8.
2.8, yeah.
So we already lowered what we normally do and gave the discount to everybody in the harbor by only doing 2.8. This additional discount is for the commercial side, and it affects both permit fees and slip fees. And it comes to a total of $38,000.
That's just for the one segment, right?
It's for commercial fishing vessels,
Right.
passenger vessels, the charter boats, and then also the six-pack operators.
Right, that's in here. So I have a question.
Oh, let's, do we have any hands raised from the public that would like to?
We have public comment, John Olam.
Okay,
Go ahead, John.
Thank you, President Zemke. Just a real question for Mr. Pruitt. What time of day did you have the meeting with all the fishermen? Was it in the morning or in the afternoon? Then I have a follow-up question.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
There's
You
another
recall,
comment he said.
huh?
Here's another comment.
Oh, did you have another comment, John?
Yeah, I was waiting for Mr. Pruitt just to tell us when.
Why don't you give us all your comments first?
Well, because I'm the citizen and you serve me. And because the question that I want to ask afterwards depends on what the answer is here. Now, if you're going to enforce me to do that, fine, I'll play the
Okay.
game the way you want me to play it. The question
Okay,
is,
well, wait a second then, John. General Manager Pruitt, do you recall what the timing was for
Time of the
that?
meeting was 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
6, okay. The answer to your question was between 6 and 8 p.m.
how many of those fishermen would have been able to attend a 10 a.m. meeting? I know that's a rhetorical question because you wouldn't know, but my guess is that most fishermen are out working at 10 a.m. So I'm wondering why you scheduled the meeting at 6 p.m. and not 10 a.m. That's okay. You don't need to answer that one. I'm done.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Any other public comments for this item?
No more
No
public.
hands raised. Okay, I will open it to Commissioner comments. Commissioner Chancarelli, yes.
So Jim, thanks for this report. First of all, I thought this report was really good, very informative, very concise, straight to the point. So I remember in this meeting when we came up with that compromise for the discount of 2.8%. So it sounds like that's not enough, right? And that's, I get it for everybody, and you're asking for more for the commercial fishing, the charter boats, and I can't even remember the other group. But my point is we're also looking at acquiring things. And I mean, I don't want to break the bank, and $38,000, it really isn't necessarily that much, but if we're looking to do these projects, and, the finance committee in the latter part of the agenda did a great job in looking at priorities on what we should maybe put on hold. But if we're looking to prioritize other expenditures, I mean, is this even gonna make a difference, the 38,000? Because this is just now. I'm not sure what the economic climate is gonna look like a year from now, right? And so we've already discounted. I mean, we did the half of the 5.6, and I'm willing to look at the other, discount, but at some point, it's gonna impact our bottom line. Do we have the tipping point for that number that would impact our bottom line for us to not be able to do what we want to do, including, just a basic maintenance of the harbor?
In my opinion, the district will not be able to continually give out discounts.
We can't.
Over time. We have to charge market value for the space. Even with these discounts, I still think it's within reasonable market price. Any lower, I think we would get outside that realm.
That's what I was
So
afraid
keeping
of.
it where it's at is,
At the 2.
I think we're safe. But 38,000, not going to significantly impact us today, but compounded every year, it will.
So if we were to say, approve this, or direct you to,
It's just this fiscal year.
yeah, so, and that's just, okay, but I just don't want people to rely on this, because the harbor has to operate, and we have to have funds to operate, so that it's for the betterment of the whole. But if you're comfortable with this 38,000, is this the direction you want us to give you to do this? Because there's not,
It's my recommendation, if the board wants to give it the relief, that they give the relief as recommended.
Right, but there's no resolution for that. Do you even need that? It just says to receive and provide you with direction, which is the same, but I don't know if a resolution is required for a time certain or not. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, does the direction enough? I don't know.
President Zemke, if these were set by the commission, then I think commission action would be necessary to revise them.
You mean enough to revise? And we already revised it once, so this is further revisions.
Further
Further
revise them.
revision,
So I
right.
think what you could discuss today and provide direction to Jim to do would be to come back with a resolution implementing which of these actions you think is something that the board would take action at
But
at a future meeting.
If we were to give him, okay, so if we were to say, go ahead and implement this plan, is that going to be okay? To give direction, would that be considered appropriate direction for the general manager so that, you know, we're immediately taking in his recommendation to move forward, even though it's not a resolution from the board?
My recommendation is to, if the board wants to go towards that end, is to give direction to the general manager to prepare the documents to make these recommendations take effect.
Okay, well, then that's what I would.
I can come back to the board with the resolution and everything, and all their fees and rate tables, and get it formally approved by the board at that time.
Okay, so that's what I would go for, but I don't know what the rest
Okay,
of the
well,
board would like to do.
Commissioner Slater Carter.
Well, I wish Tom were here.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd prefer to table this item to get Tom's comments. My experience on other boards is every time, no good deed goes unpunished. And we have a lot of work that needs to be done on the very pieces of infrastructure that this impacts. And so we hear about how we need to do the work, but nobody wants to pay for it. We just heard from the public speaker that the county now wants to charge $25,000 for an event that subsidizes and funds some of the major public services on this coast side that the county does not. It's tough out there. And I think, and my experience is, I like to see small incremental changes so people can adjust to it in their pricing structure for their business, rather than have to do a sudden big jump, high step, which then causes great financial grief to everyone, because then they've got to do all these price increases too. So I am very concerned that we are nickeling and diming our infrastructure into the ground.
That's what, yeah.
And I think that's been a long pattern for this district. We are here to protect the Harbor District. And these are people, and we are, because of many political functions, we are an enterprise district. The only way we get our money is to charge for it. I'm trying to think of ways we can increase traffic and increase fees and revenues so we can do this. But in the meantime, if we start nickeling and diming ourselves to death, we're going to become a public hazard.
Yeah. That's.
And $38,000 is a lot of money. We could get a fair amount of safety stuff done. Meanwhile, we've got people coming and saying, "Oh, you're not paying people enough and you don't care about public safety and this and that." And we're cutting our income. We understand, we sitting here understand we can't do everything, and cutting our income is going to hurt many more people. And so And the other thing is, this district is saddled by bad leases from years back. And so we can't do the kind of cost increases that's normal in a commercial lease for the people who are making money, things like the fuel dock and other things that this district needs. So I would like to hear from Tom. I'd like to table this, but frankly, I believe that commercial vehicles or vessels and those who are getting FEMA and other money, they can put the additional costs into their bills to the federal government and pay us.
So I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is, I agree, that was my concern too, after reading this report. What is the tipping point for us before we can't do what we're supposed to be doing?
Exactly.
Right. So if we gave direction for Jim to write up the report so that we can see the different alternatives, would that work? Like if we did this increase, or if we didn't do an increase, left it status quo at the 2.8% decrease?
I think that's what this report was supposed to do, was look at alternatives to,
Well,
that might help out the commercial fishermen.
I didn't see that as the different, I saw this as just a report, but without recommendations.
Well, it does have one recommendation, the recommendation.
No, for board action.
Oh, right, it doesn't have a
Yeah.
resolution, but, so you think it would be productive to go ahead and make that final step?
Well, for Jim to put a final report together and use obviously some of this information, I mean, I would like to know at what point does it actually, in terms of reduction of fees, because I agree with Catherine, we have to operate, right? And if I look at the list that the finance committee put together, I mean, it's pretty, I think it's like a $10 million gain possibly for the budget based on the things you don't do this year or whatever.
Right.
And so I'm just wondering what that tipping point would be before our operations are harmed. I mean, and I know it's like forecasting. You see what I'm saying? So if it's like forecasting, then what does that look like?
Well, rather than, my opinion is, our operations are going to be harmed with less income.
That's what I'm saying.
You're saying that if we reduce income, at what point will they be harmed? I'm saying any decrease will
Okay.
harm operations. We aren't operating with a surplus. We're operating as every special district should, to spend all of the income we get to the benefit of the district.
Okay.
Cuts have to, if you cut income, you cut benefits to the district. And it's just a matter of, and so often districts have to just choose what they're cutting, what benefits they're cutting. Well, Johnson Pier is where these guys pay the rent for, and we actually need to fix it, and we need this money to fix it. Let's ask them how long they'd like to have all of this stuff deferred.
Yeah,
But-
that's going to increase cost even more down the road.
Exactly, and we need to be looking at ways
Right.
to get things fixed while it's still cheaper, because it's only going to be going up.
Right, I understand. So
We don't have
I am
surplus.
glad, and I get it. I'm glad that the board voted for just the 2.8, that compromise. But I would still, just from a factual standpoint, unless it's going to be too much work, Jim, to understand what that tipping point is. And I mean, I agree with Catherine, but I would just like to know what that wiggle room is. Because I think that we've already cut, and I, still can hear Tom's concerns from from the meeting, I think it was 2 months ago, where we made that decision. And I wish that Commissioner Matoush were here as well, but I don't know, how much work would it be to understand what the tipping point is?
Well, I'd like to see, What's it cost to fill a fishing vessel up with fuel to go out and catch a load of fish? Thousands of dollars. Every time they go out.
Tens of thousands, I think.
Yeah. And what we're asking for is $66, we're debating over $66 a month. It's crazy. I don't see any headlines anywhere about the government saying, oh, fuel costs so much, let's stop raising prices on fuel producers. They don't do that. They don't care what we pay. Maybe we have a job to do, and we need to take care of our district and our
I would still want the
facilities.
information. That doesn't mean we have to act on it.
Well,
But it depends on how much work it's gonna require.
I was going to say, it all depends. Are you employed full-time, Jim, or do you have extra time? How about you, John? You probably sit around with your muffins and coffee for a couple hours in the morning getting your day organized, right?
Well, maybe the way to do this then is, because later on down in the agenda, the discussion item, we have the finance, what is the agenda item? Where the finance,
Oh, the capital projects,
yes.
yeah, number 5.
Yeah, number 5, yeah. Maybe we look at that vis-a-vis this to see if it's even worth it, because that report I thought was pretty telling on things.
The board can also give instruction to do that.
Yeah, I mean, or just put it on, if we do
What I
nothing
said, I'd like to
now-
table the motion until we have a full board here.
Well, there's not.
Or
a
until
motion,
Tom's here.
yeah. Well, we can table it. I'm fine because I can't wait to get to number 5 on the discussion item.
So
I would
Item
support
tabled?
that. I would support tabling that item. I think we have consensus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in the meantime, the 2.8% decrease is still going to be in place,
It's
correct?
still in place, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're getting a break.
That's my point.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, do we have another public comment? Yes, go ahead. John, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Ms. Corrali, the tipping point came when you and Tom agreed to subsidize a failed marina at an agency that has far more resources than you, far more money than you have, and far more options than you could ever dream of having to get money. You subsidize a marina that you do not own for $2 million a year. And that's been going on for 50 years. And you and Tom, Miss Virginia, voted to continue that same, frankly, stupid arrangement for an enterprise district for another 15 years. So if you want to know why you can't do anything out at the Johnson Pier, Commissioner Slater Carter, it's because of that stupid agreement you have with an agency that has far more money than you have, far more resources than you have, and far more options than you can dream of. Yet you're all sitting here talking about a 2.5% cut like it means anything. Fix the problem that you have with South San Francisco and take care of your own district instead of other people's districts. You're not running for office, a higher office anymore, Corrali, so you don't need their support. It's time for you to start leading this agency and get out of the stupid contracts that you have signed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Any further comments from the public?
No more public comment.
On to item number 2, time and place of the San Mateo County Harbor District regular meetings. Mr. Pruitt, thank you.
President Zemke, Commissioners, thank you. This issue is the time and place of the regular meeting of the Board of the San Mateo County Harbor Districts. The motion is, or the recommended motion is, adopt Resolution 2311, superseding Regulation 2013, establishing that the regular meetings of the Harbor Commission will be held on the third Wednesday of each month at 504 Avenue, Alhambra, El Granada, California, 94018, to begin at 10 a.m. and terminate no later than 1 p.m. unless extended by the commission. Further, authorize and direct staff to publicize the time change as required by Government Code Section 6066. At the last board meeting, options were provided to the board on changing the time of our board meetings so that Commissioner Corrali could attend the LAFCO board meetings, as she was selected to serve on, and the board highly recommended and supported her application and her ability to serve on that board. And the board elected to support that because the LAFCO board meeting and the San Mateo County board meeting, Harbor Board, conflicted. Several options were considered, and the board directed staff to prepare the paperwork to implement a time change to the board meeting, which again is at 10 a.m. Attached to the staff report is the draft agenda for making this change, our draft resolution, and then also directing staff to publicize it in the paper as required by the.
We have public comment on this item.
Ed Lorenz.
Ed, go ahead.
Thank you. Couple of things on this. As you know, I've been advocating for you to have the meeting when the public can attend. This time change happened on September 16, 2020, and myself and Commissioner Brennan voted no. I'm just going to read you an article or portion of an article written by Clay Lampert from the Half Moon Bay Review. Local elected representatives of government agencies organized to serve the people who pay the bills should hold their public meetings at a time that is most convenient to its constituents. And that time is not 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, when most of us are working for a living. While this seems obvious, the simple statement of facts appears to be lost on San Mateo County Commission, which unanimously voted to change the time of its meeting from an already inconvenient 1 p.m. on the third Wednesday to an even less convenient time at 10 a.m. If you are routinely available at the time you are either retired from gainful employment, a newspaper report required to attend, or a Harbor Commission official paid to be there. The commission has a chance to do the right thing and move its meeting to a weeknight where more taxpayers are home from work and able to participate. But that's not what happened. The vast majority of Coastside Governing Board have meetings in the evening. It allows elected representatives to keep day jobs. I'm running out of time, but there's a list in that lists the different agencies that have their meetings in the evening. I urge you again, do the right thing, change your meeting times to when people can attend, like 6:30. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ed. Any further comments from the public?
Yes. John Olem.
John, go ahead.
Thank you, President Zemke. This will be the last comment I'll probably ever be able to make in a public meeting of the Harbor District. Like most people at this time of day, I've got to go back to work. I took a long lunch break because I knew you guys would find a way to stretch this way out. And so I'm already late back to lunch, and that's costing me money. But I don't think any of you are going to subsidize that. The PRA request I asked for, one of the things I asked for was the letter that your manager, Mr. Pruitt, a conversation that he had with former President Nancy Raring about moving the meetings to 1 p.m. And he, at that time, rightfully, respectfully, pointed out that that would be very difficult for working people to attend. and Nancy Raring blew him off. She didn't agree with him. And you guys moved your meeting to 1 o'clock. Now you want to move it to 10 a.m. and you want to do this for the benefit of Virginia Jane Corrali. So she can go to LAFCO, which is kind of hysterical because she's on record suggesting that maybe it's time to dissolve the Harbor District. And LAFCO would be the ones to do that. So you're putting on the board, a LAFCO board, somebody who's, when she's not in control of the Harbor District, doesn't see any use for the Harbor District. But when she's got some power, then she does. Anyway, I'm hoping that one of you will explain, just one of you, why you think the public is better served by a 10 a.m. meeting than, say, a 1 p.m. meeting on a Tuesday or a Thursday or a different Wednesday of the month. You had a whole bunch of other choices you could have made. What about 10 a.m. on Wednesday informs you, Catherine, that that's the best time for a meeting to be held for the public, that the public would be better served, not Virginia, because really she is serving us. I'm talking about the public that pays for the Harbor District. What
Okay,
about?
thank you.
No,
Thank
sir. You've allowed multiple people to go along. I don't understand why you're playing favorites. Does
Thank you for your
that
comment, John. Okay. Any further public comments?
No public comments.
Okay, I will open it to commission comments at this time. Mr. Slater-Carter.
One of the things that has been, one of the issues that has been raised is if we moved our meetings to evenings, there would be overtime charges, which would impact the budget. And we're talking significant, we're talking overtime in terms of the staff and others. So on an annual basis, that would be what, $10,000, $20,000?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Rough
thousands of
guess. I'm
dollars.
not looking for anything to the penny or even to the dollar, or even to the $1,000. I will say that for the people who work, and there are people who work at night who can't attend meetings. There are also people who have families and taking care of children who are busy at night. And there are lots of other meetings at night. So I don't think we can please all the people all the time. I think keeping this on the same day of the month so it's predictable is important for people. One of the things this board did is to get the agenda online and published a day in advance so that people can sit any time of day or night and read the agenda and submit questions in writing. We are not denying public access at all. And one of the things that this district does and pays for, and to make ourselves more available and accessible, is Zoom. We don't have to do that.
Yeah, chose the hybrid.
So we have chosen, this board chose for transparency and clarity to have digitally available meetings. And they're also available for people to rewatch on the internet, and they can still submit questions or comments later. I frankly have always found that morning meetings, the county, their meetings are 9 a.m. And they have a much bigger financial impact on this community, our community, than the Harbor District does. So I support 10 a.m. I can't say it's my favorite, but I think it's even better and more accessible than 1 p.m. So I'm going to make the motion that we adopt resolution 23-11 superseding resolution -20-13, and so on and so forth.
I'll second that, but I just have to want to make one clarifying remark. That this is just the resolution part. The actual substance has already been voted on. And this is just to replace the current resolution with this resolution for the time change, is that correct?
The board directed me to provide the paperwork to execute the 10 a.m. meeting.
But that 10 a.m. vote was last meeting.
Right, and we
Right.
discussed that with all
Right.
5 members.
Right. Well, no, had to leave.
Oh, that's
I
right.
had to leave.
Okay.
But anyway, no, and so I respect what my fellow board members have done. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that this is just a procedural thing. The substantive issue was voted on last month.
Yes.
And I want to thank the board for really supporting me to be on LACA, which I think is going to be a good thing for the Harbor District. So thank you. And so I second Catherine's motion.
And I too would like to thank Catherine for your comments on the rationale behind this, and I think they're right on point.
I agree.
So, take a roll call, please.
President Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Slater Carter. Yes. Commissioner Chang Corrali.
Aye.
Okay. Moving along to discussion item number 3, health reimbursement arrangement agreement. Julie, this is yours. Oh, yeah, pass the microphone.
Is it this one?
So staff is requesting that the Harbor Commission adopt Resolution 23-12 approving a health reimbursement agreement, or for short HRA, and authorize the general manager to sign the agreements with Mid-America Administrative and Retirement Solutions and Services and with Keenan and Associates. This is required for the implementation of the Teamsters MOU that was provided to you on the consent agenda and adopted in June. Also, managers have historically received similar benefits as the Teamsters Union and are included in the attachments of this staff report. The HRA will provide an incentive for longevity and provide benefit to employees that have separated from their district job. Teamsters Union and management employees would receive pre-tax funds that could be used for health reasons. And all the money that is put into an employee's HRA account and where the employee is not fully vested will be transferred back to the district and will be used to fund other HRA accounts. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have regarding this issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to confirm, management employees do not include the general manager.
Oh, they do
They do include this?
in the staff report, yes.
Do they include the board?
No.
Sorry.
I thought I pulled myself out.
Okay, so do you want us to vote on this with the amendment that?
Thought I was.
Okay. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Public
No
comment.
public comment. Okay, I'll open it for commission discussion. Any thoughts?
I was a little confused about the 3 components of the contract for employee account. So is it a choice, or is it sounds like it's based on, now, I don't know if you can just explain. Number 3, a per pay period contribution that will be tier one, $5,000 for tier two, $10,000 for tier three. So that's based on the number of years of service, right?
Yeah. So I'll go up to the podium.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, okay. I mean, I might be the only one who is a little confused on this. But so they get the $500 per year contributions for that? I mean, how does that work?
Right, so there's a catch-up contribution.
I got
So
that.
say I'm an employee that has worked here for 5 years.
Right.
They would retroactively calculate what my benefit balance should be for a 5-year employee. And then the district will pay that amount to Keenan and Associates to be invested in this HRA account for each of the employees. And so that's contribution number one.
Right.
That's about $19,000 for both Teamsters and management employees.
1,900, you said?
19,000.
Yeah. So that's. And every year on July 1st, there will be a $500 per year contribution that will go into these HRA accounts. And then
For everybody, right?
yeah.
In this plan?
Teamsters and management employees, yes. And then the third contribution will be on a per pay period basis, and it will equal $2,000 for tier one, and that's $2,000 is spread out across a 5-year period, or for management and a 10-year period for Teamsters. $5,000 for tier two. Again, it's spread out for the different tiers that are explained above, and $10,000 for tier three. So does that help?
So that's basically the tiers, just so everyone who's listening is clear, is going to be based on length of service, right?
Exactly, yes.
And so just, it's going to be spread out over 5 years for every tier, right?
So for Teamsters employees, the tiers are 10, 15, and 20 years. For management employees, it's 5, 10, and 15 years.
Right, okay, but the,
So if I'm an employee, I
out
work,
of this is going to
Yeah.
be 5 years. So like if you're in a management, the 5 years will be, if you're a tier 3 for 15 years, or, so tier 1, they would get it all, right? If they're 5 years of service in management, is that correct?
if you work here for 5 years and you're a manager, you'll get $2,000 in your HRA account on year 5. You'll be entitled to that, plus the $500 per year. So there'll be $4,500 in your HRA account when you
After 5 years.
after 5 years. If you work 7 years, you're still only going to get $4,500.
It's not until you're at 10 years that it would be based off of the $500 per 10 years to be $5,000, right? Plus the 5,000?
Yeah, so tier 2, $5,000 plus $500 a year for 10 years is another $5,000, so you'll get $10,000.
At $5,000 a year for 5 years twice.
Right. Mhm.
Okay. And the same would be for the 15 years, right? 15, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's tier 3. As soon as someone either works for the district for 20 years or a manager works for the district for 3 years, the maximum.
15 years.
Which you'll get $10,000 plus another $500
Right.
per year.
Get that, but it's So I understand that the actual annual dollar amounts would be, like, if you worked here, if you're in management and you're at 20, you're still gonna get the $10,000 for tier 3, right?
Yeah.
Right, but, okay, so, but there's no maximum in terms of what the district's contribution is in total, right? Like, no one's gonna get more than, $100,000 or whatever.
Ops, when you get to the third tier. That's the maximum
No, but
contribution.
but if you continue to go beyond the 15 years, like, let's say it's another 15 years, it's still gonna increase, right?
I don't believe so, no.
Not the actual
The
$10,000,
district stops contributions at that time.
okay,
However, the employee from day one can put money into that account if they would choose to.
okay,
So they can choose to put in money after the final tier 3 if they would like to. But we'll stop doing the monthly payments and the $500.
after 15 years for management?
Management.
Or, Teamsters, okay,
And really, what this was designed for was to cover health insurance between retirement and Medicare. Without
yes,
paying
like
for
that
Medicare-
bridge,
Without paying for medical
Medic-
coverage, which is much more expensive.
yeah. I'm just trying to understand this, because I didn't get that from here, so thanks for answering my questions.
Yeah, it's complex.
Yeah, I know, thanks for doing all of this. That's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner
How many
Slater, Carter?
how many catch-up employees do we have?
There's
Employee will be.
all
except the new
admin.
hires will be caught up.
Well, the admin, so there's, I think, 7 managers, about 7 Teamsters.
About 14? Yeah, but okay, but they're all gonna get, so that total with the catch-up is then 19,000, right?
Right.
Commissioner Slater, Carter, do you have a
Was this part of the agreement with the union?
Yes.
Yeah,
I move that we adopt this.
I'll second that.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Julie, and good work.
Any further comments? I support this as well. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Slater Carter? President Zemke?
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Crowley?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to item number 4. Lighthouse Public,
Did you call for public comment? I don't recall.
Well, and I,
I don't think there was no public comment.
Public comment.
Yeah, I did earlier.
He
on.
called.
Yeah. Lighthouse Public Affairs, NHA Advisors. This is from the Finance Committee. Catherine, are you representing the Finance Committee?
I
today?
am the Finance Committee representative for the day.
Okay.
I can read the report and then have them close it out if you like.
I'll just say that we discussed this and we think it's a good idea. And it's all in the report, so essentially what we have to do is raise the visibility of this district. Virginia just reminded me that we have had lots of negative visibility due to circumstances beyond staff's control in the past. And now we have to rebuild the image of the Harbor District. And we're trying to do it with things like food trucks and so on, but there's always nagging doubts in people's minds. And so we decided, rather than making it a do-it-ourselves project, to hire somebody who knows what they're doing. And this particular firm has connections in Sacramento and other areas as well. And so I think this will be money very well spent. And so I recommend, and the finance committee recommends that we adopt this. Lots of questions, go on.
No, I agree, I think this is good. Who's doing this now for us? Yeah,
Bring it up another level.
so would she still be involved, Melanie still be involved with this?
Melanie will continue to be involved with the routine posts that we do. We're talking beyond that, just our social media.
Right, but then and Michelle Dragney, Co-Side Buzz is helping.
She'll be,
How much are we paying her?
comes to about $1,000 a month.
$12,000 a year? So are we retaining her as well?
That's, right now, that's the intent, yes.
Okay. So, I can't remember what this budget item is. What would
And
the,
that will be used more to spread the information that White House develops or NHA develops. Melanie will do the same.
so that means that if we were to do this, which is 40,000 up to, right, not to exceed, and we have Co-Site Buzz doing whatever Michelle is gonna do, that's $52,000 a year,
For the year, yes.
every year, if we can retain, that's 50.
Well, I work with both these companies to do up to $20,000 to see.
Which companies?
There's two
companies.
here.
There's
Lighthouse and
Lighthouse
NHA.
Public Affairs and NHA Advisors, which Lighthouse Public Affairs, by the titles, Public Affairs, and working with the legislation, but also on the other side is NHA Advisors, which will help us. They'll review our financial status, give us ideas on how to finance and help develop a workable plan for it.
Right, so I understand that's where the 40,000, but we're spending 52,000 if we
Yes.
continue to retain, Co-Site Buzz.
Yes.
So it's beyond 40,000, that's just for
Yes,
this.
12,000's already.
So what is I think I missed it. How long is the contract for? I mean, this is $40,000 a year.
It's based on the hours consumed, so as soon as we use $40,000 worth of hours, then the contract ends. I have to come back.
So I'm gonna be kind of honest out here. So I value what Michelle Dragany has done, but I also feel like she circumvents you sometimes. And I want to understand the relationship between Lighthouse Public Affairs / NHA Advisors and Michelle Dragany with Co-Side Buzz, because I don't think that she should be going to them directly.
Correct.
So that, so that our $40,000 is going to be chipped away very quickly. So I don't understand how that relationship is going to work. And that's not in this report. I support it.
No, it's a one-way relationship. Michelle, through the Coast Guide Buzz, under the contract, works directly for the district. Lighthouse Public Affairs will not be on, I guess, information dissemination level of actually pushing the button. Those kind of information and stuff developed by Lighthouse will be shared with Coast Guide Buzz to put out on our behalf. It's just another way of getting our information out.
Okay. So are they going to do that on their own as well, Lighthouse Public
No,
Affairs
that'll
and
be working through the
NHA?
district.
But then what would Melanie's role be then? Is she,
Melanie still
can
puts
we,
out all the
social media?
social media, board meetings, fish updates, food truck updates, weather updates, tide updates,
Okay.
special events. Right now, we have a very strong push on headways cleanup.
Yeah, I saw that. It was great. Yeah, it was great.
Valley pushes all those out. And that's a co-site from Pacifica, also is involved, initiative. We're a big part of that, of course. Melanie will continue to do that. That's just our daily activities.
Right.
Lighthouse is really gonna, is
Like more
focusing
strategic.
on demonstrating what the district does for the public. What value is San Mateo County Harbor District to San Mateo and to the Bay Area.
That's right.
So I understand that role. Mike, I just want to make sure that what is disseminated at the local level, based on direction from you via Lighthouse and NHA, is actually going to be what's disseminated. Because
Yes.
I got to tell you, I'm going to be very honest here, that some of the headlines that have been put out, and maybe it's from you to co-side Buzz, I don't think has actually represented the district very well.
Michelle and I have addressed that and we've cleaned it up.
Okay, so I just want to make sure the boundaries are very clear. Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve, to authorize the general manager to enter into contracts with Lighthouse Public Affairs and NHA advisors.
I'll second.
Okay, well, we did get,
Oh,
yes.
sorry.
Yes, we did get kind of ahead of ourselves here.
Sorry.
Let's back up and take a public comment.
Okay.
Moranis? Go ahead, Ed.
Okay, thank you. I'm hoping that some of you on the board at least see some of the irony of wanting to hire a public relations firm. I can tell you from experience that no amount of public relations will help the district repair its bad reputation without a commitment from the board to change their behavior and truly work for the benefit of the public. And if you're wondering what those behaviors are, just voted to exclude the public from you guaranteed that minimal public participation in your general meeting. You exclude the public from serving on committees. You treat assertions as facts. And the example of that was Commissioner Carter claiming that more people can attend a 10 a.m. meeting than an evening meeting. That's not a fact. It's just your assertion. And you base your votes on these assertions. It's not right. You also claim ownership of projects that the public loves and the majority of the board opposed. For example, the West Trail Living Shoreline. The board approved a cement wall, if you remember. It was the Coastal Commission staff that denied the cement wall and forced the district to use a living shoreline. Now, the lesson from that should be to you all that if you had listened to the public in the very beginning, the public was asking for a sand replenishment and living shoreline. You voted for a wall. What's the public going to think? Well, you're not listening to us. Thank goodness for the Coastal Commission, they sent it back. So once again, I'm urging you, listen to the public and provide them opportunities to be part of the Harbor District decision-making.
Hey, Ed, thank you for your comment. Any further public comments? Okay. Any more comments from the commission on the motion?
I actually want to thank the public for their input. As we know, the public goes beyond members who are currently at the meetings because I've heard comments from other people over the years. And I tried to take into consideration everyone's comments and everyone's input, not just a handful. So I do want to thank the public for, over the years, giving us meaningful and constructive public comment. We've seen public comment when it came to Mavericks, even with one shoreline, wanting to kind of get rid of the outer breakwater. We had public comment on the West Trail, which, by the way, the board did vote for the current situation, and it's been great, but I've heard some complaints as well. But I think, it's something that, by and large, most people have had positive or given positive feedback for. And I think we take public comment a lot into consideration. We're not going to take public comment and do every single thing that a person wants to do. If members of the public want that, then they should run for office, which they have the right to do. So I do want to thank the public who in the past have given us constructive feedback, and for staff for trying to accommodate to the public in general. And I think I can say that since I've been on this board, looking at the spectrum since 2015. So thank you to the staff, and we've had staff changes as well. And I'll thank Catherine and her husband Ed, because she's been to a lot of board meetings and given public comment, and she knows that we haven't taken everything that she wanted into consideration. But, I think we've tried to do the best that we can to take the broad comments that we've had. And I want to thank the staff for doing the work. So we have a
Yes.
motion and a second on this.
Yes, we have a motion and a second to approve this. Can we have a roll call, please?
President Zemke,
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Crawley,
Aye.
Mr. Slater Carter.
Yes. Move us on to item number 5. Capital improvement projects and budget impacts. Jim, did you want to present this, or do you want Slater, Commissioner Slater Carter?
Jim, why don't you present this?
All right, thank you. The Finance Committee for cost overrun based on previous projects. The background is that the capital improvement projects that we are currently undertaking and have undertaken have significantly increased in cost, well beyond the estimated budget amount. Limited resources, supply chain issues, and increased labor costs. What changes might have? Again, the capital improvement project significantly increased in cost, well beyond the estimated budget amounts. And the increase are due to multiple factors, including inflation, limited resources, supply chain issues, and increased labor costs. For example, the OPM docks for the replacement of OPM docks 12, 13, and 14 were estimated to be $5 million. In today's dollars, that grew to $18 million. And to correct my math, that represents a 260% increase over time, over the estimated budget. The Catch Joanne Restaurant ADA restroom project was estimated cost of $400,000, and the actual cost came in at $1,100,000, again, a 199% increase. And the West Trail project was originally estimated at $1.5 million, and actual cost came in at $2.5 million, 70% increase. And then the Surface Beach ADA restroom and green space project was estimated at $641,000, and the current costs are now $3,900,000, 518% increase. If we continue this trend, the Surfers Beach replacement, our Surfers Beach replenishment pilot project, which includes the dredge and the replacement of replacement of the eelgrass beds and moving them to the other side of the harbor. The current estimate of that project is at 4.8 million. We would look, to correct my math again, well into the $7, $8, and $9 million project. And that's a project that is one of the top priorities for the district. So the current working capital for the district for this year is $10,800,000. We cannot fund the capital improvement project as it is listed in our budget right now. And the staff recommended to the committee that we push the Johnson Pier electrical upgrade project until next year. That's a $1 million project. The Johnson Pier pile repair and replacement project is a $2.3 million project. The OPM dock landings, just for 1 through 6, to get them above sea level rise is $1.7 million. The Pillar Point rock slope repair is $1.5 million. And we're splitting the Surfers Beach pilot project between 2 fiscal years and moving part of that into the next fiscal year. That would better enable the district to manage their money and stay within budget. As we get closer through the ends of these projects and they're moving, we may have to come back to the board again and adjust the projects based on funding available. So the recommended motion to the board, or recommended to the committee, was to approve the amendment to the fiscal year 2023-2024 capital improvement program to defund in whole or in part the following projects for fiscal year 2023 and 2024 and reassign to future fiscal years. Johnson Pier electrical project, Johnson Pier pile project, OPM dock landings for docks 1 through 6, Pillar Point rock slope repair, and $3.7 million of the Surfers Beach pilot project. Anybody for any questions? And I turn it back over to Commissioner Slater-Cotter.
I would add, just using a conservative inflation figure, we're looking at adding close to $1 million in total cost for all of these repairs by postponing them. Not that we have a choice, but I just want people to be aware of the costs we're looking at.
Well, the opportunity cost.
It's not an opportunity cost. It is a cost of inflation.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
It's a cost of supply chain. These are the things that are going on because of the current economic, political community. And we have to delay them because we don't have the money now. And that's why I made my comments earlier even about $30,000, these little cuts that we're making, they add up. And so I unfortunately, these costs go up, and I would like to see the staff report amended for in the minutes to reflect the real percentage increases.
You mean with the inflated costs?
No, if
My math there.
It was just.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I
math
thought you were
errors-
talking about what you were adding.
$1.5 million
Yeah.
to $2,550,000 is more than 41%.
Yeah, I get it.
And it's scary how much things are costing anymore. But we have to, and these are all critically important projects, but we just have to do what we have to do to be able to get done the more important priorities. So I'm asking for an approval to reassign these to future years, and I'd like notations that these are going to cost us more than we think in future years, and that's just life, unfortunately.
Well,
Yes.
I'm happy to make the motion to approve the amendment to the fiscal year 2023-24 capital improvement program to defund in whole or in part the projects that have been listed. Basically, the Johnson Pier electrical upgrade, and to reassign these to future fiscal years. Johnson Pier pile repair project, the OPM dock landings, docks 1 through 6, and the Pillar Point rock slope repair. And so I'll make that motion if there's a second.
I'll second that.
But can I just make a quick comment?
Sure, because we're going to have to take public comments
Yeah,
too, so.
I know, but
More than
this is
enough
the
time.
discussion part now. So this situation is really emblematic of that saying time is money, right? Because the cost continues to increase as we continue to delay, not because of our own, fault necessarily. And I think Catherine's right in terms of understanding the true cost. And, I thank the Finance Committee for putting this together. I thought it was a really good report and actually a wake-up call that I hope the public sees. I don't think that one thing can be blamed, whether it's, OPM or our lack of this or that. I think there are policies that have, not at our level, but at a higher level, that trickle down to the Harbor District where, it impacts everyday lives. And I think that if there's any way that, is it Lighthouse Public Affairs, Jim, that they can take back feedback to our legislators about this? Because this isn't just going to affect the Harbor District, it's going to be for every project, for any public agency, if there's this type of delay. And I can see the public using delays as a way to continue to delay and the cost to continue to be at a point where it's cost prohibitive, and then, it becomes a deferred maintenance problem. I mean, it becomes an avalanche at that point. So I hope that we can use our consultants whom we've just approved to come on board to help us really lobby for this, because and actually I'm wondering if we should talk to CSDA about stuff like this, because special districts in general provide these essential services, whether it's, a fire station, which actually also has to deal with cost controls, to our harbor, to even, well, as waste management or sanitation districts, right, where they're dealing with infrastructure. So I don't know, Jim, can we just somehow get this message to our new consultants? Because we're going to need to have some kind of lobbying, because the policies right now are not favorable for us or any agency or city that wants to do something that's infrastructure oriented.
Yep.
I'd also like to note that the item number 3, the comments from the public, we should be working with South City.
Yeah.
They should be working with us to get funding for it from other sources too. That's not just our responsibility.
Right, it's a joint responsibility.
It's a joint responsibility, and so anything to do with spending at Oyster Point Marina should be done jointly between us and South City, because it's a mutual benefit. And things need to be repaired. It's a public benefit for the whole county, for everybody who uses it, but that includes mostly South City. So I'd like to see what South City can do to help get those docks repaired. Anyway, that's my comment. But yeah, we've got to be looking for, these are the electrical upgrade and the pile repair projects. Those are critical.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I found this on the web for Digi, the electrical upgrade, and the pilot repair project social critical.
Shut up.
Check it out.
I'd like to take this break here to see if we have any public comment. Do we have any hand? Right,
We
okay.
had computer
Except for
comments.
Cirrus.
Apologies.
Yeah, except for,
I agree with this. I think too, I guess maybe just to make a comment here that all of these things that we're deferring, it's kind of like deferring maintenance, but none of these are critical to the point that it's a public risk.
right.
That we are comfortable saying that Johnson Pier Pile Repair Project is not something that's imminently,
Gonna compromise safety.
right.
It's a project that needs to be done in the near future, but we've had it inspected, and for what we're using Johnson Pier for today, the piles are okay.
Are adequate, okay. So,
Can I ask a quick question?
How did y'all determine that these would be the 4 projects? I mean, were there criteria that y'all looked at, or
The main
was it
criteria
time?
was that, one is safety aspect of things is critical.
Right,
Once we got over that hurdle, it was more the dollar amounts of the projects. The other projects that we're engaged in are so expensive that if we took that project out, they're so few. It's the Harbor Dredge project. We have to do that.
we have to do that.
And that's one of our biggest expenses. The same thing with the ADA restroom at the Surfers Beach. We have to get that done to comply with the CDP. And that project is ballooning in cost. The bathroom, again, project at Tenant Row, who would have thought that one bathroom would cost that much? But it sure did, as it went up. So those inflation costs, those resource costs, those labor costs all went through the roof. It put us into a corner with funding what we want to. And if we really want to fund the dredge project mainly, we need to make sure we have the money to do that. To do that, we have to stop spending money on these smaller projects that add up to several million, so we can move forward with the dredge project. Hopefully with Lighthouse and NHA, we'll be able to increase our capital, our revenues and money for capital improvement projects. That's one of the main objectives to do that, is so that we can do that.
I thank the committee, the finance committee and the staff for kind of putting in this priority list for us. So putting this together. So thank you. Thanks, Catherine.
And we've created lost my thought on that, but the projects that we're doing now are critically important. We have to finish them, and we need the money to do that, so.
do we have other ongoing design and engineering and permitting
That was my thought.
issues on this? Okay.
Currently, we're spending money on engineering design for Johnson Pier and reconfiguration and floating docks. And we're spending money on design engineer for the new retail center. I believe it's important to continue with those, and also replacements of docks 12, 13, and 14 at OPM. We need to do those projects. They're projects that have to be completed in some time in the future. And I believe it's important to have the project shovel-ready so that we are able to take advantage of any funding from the federal government or the state government on grants. A lot of grant money are your project, can you spend the money in the next 12 months? With the shovel-ready permits and everything in hand, we'll be able to say yes and take advantage of those opportunities. We're very close we're in the 90 percentile for the Johnson Pier project. We're in the 90% in the Oyster Point 12, 13, and 14. And we're at maybe 20 to 30% in design, engineering, and permitting of the new retail center, which is scheduled right now to be constructed in 2028, pending funding. But it'll be ready to go if funding becomes available in 2028 at the end of the current leases.
So that work would continue to get that.
That work will be continued to be funded, yes.
At a future agenda, can we have, I'm not looking for a major heavy-duty report, but why these increases went up from 5 million, what year was that 5 million made, and when did it become 18 million, for instance?
2018, 2022.
So
over 4 years.
And why did it go from 5 to 18? And I would like to see any future projects take those factors into consideration. Because I can't see, for instance, spending a whole lot of money at this point on the new retail center. It is a priority, we do need it. We've got the bathrooms fixed. But if it's estimated that if we're basing our rental rates and stuff on one figure and returns on one figure, and yet the costs are going to be 350% more than that figure, then we're going to be handicapping ourselves yet again. Now, I agree that, and this is in terms of the retail center, that we may not be able to cover all our costs, but we need to be really looking at, as an enterprise district, what we're doing to make keep ourselves in the modern, in competitive in so many ways, and safe and so on. But I want to know why things went 350% more from 5 to 18. And you know, you look at each of these. The West Trail almost doubled. The restrooms, 400,000 to 2 million. That's extreme. And maybe when we're given decisions on funding things, we should be able to say, well, gee, you know, we've got this restroom project and it's estimated to cost $400,000, but you better budget 2 million just in case, so that we can be prepared for these shocks. And the public can too.
Can I add on to that
Please.
really quickly? So in terms of the budgeting, I mean, I agree with Catherine on that in terms of actual costs. It's so hard to obviously predict, but maybe, I mean, just these, I agree with these increases are crazy, but are these really the most conservative budget numbers? Because
Well, and maybe part of the cost went up because there were improvements added to it. For instance, and I know we weren't putting in Air Force gold-plated toilet seats.
no.
But, and maybe there were needed infrastructure improvements on these, but it's not good for the public, it's not good for the board to have these kinds of
Disparities.
yeah. And when we're asked to vote on projects in the future, I'm going to say, gee, should we be planning on spending 4 times as much? So we can get it in a realistic place. So
And that's not a criticism to you, Julie, or Jim. It's just,
No.
this is so unexpected, and I get that the climate that we're in, politically and economically, is a causing factor of this. How do we make our budget more accurate, I guess is.
My guess is, for instance, on the West Trail, that all of a sudden engineers and designers and everyone say, oh, we forgot to tell you. Oh, we just noticed this added problem and we've got to protect you against it. And oh, look, the tides. But which brings me back to our good old one shoreline. Oh, it won't be a problem. Just remove the breakwaters. No, well, let's just lose half the coast.
And our money.
So, yeah, all of these things appear to be so often and is approached with oh, well, everything's going to be fine and there's not going to be all these terrible cost increases. But this is proof that it doesn't work that way.
So we do, I think we've done this before, Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, where when you put out a report and this is what you would like us to approve, there's a cost overage estimate, right? That we would, like a contingency, if it goes over, that would also be approved. What is that? How do you determine the cost overage? I think it's like usually a percentage, right?
I can answer
Okay,
that.
because that could maybe help solve some of the issues.
For the
in
capital
others.
improvement projects, we first bring on a design engineering team, and that's after the board gives us direction to move forward with the project. Now, we just put our heads together and try to determine, based on projects that have occurred in the county or surrounding areas that are most like it, what that project cost should be for a design engineering team, because that's what the board approves first.
Right.
And then we put out an RFP, a request for proposal, for a design engineering team for design engineering teams to bid on that design engineering. That's not necessarily true that lowest bid, most qualified, will be anywhere close to what a like project has cost in the past. So we start off with a design engineering team lowest bid at X amount. Then we go through the whole design engineering process, which, just like we're experiencing right now with the retail center, that project can expand dramatically. And what we did experience, in fact, we keep talking about the West Trail project, which is fundamentally complete now. That project lasted 7 years.
Yeah.
And during that entire 7-year period, it went from what our design engineering team originally recommended, and we did go with what the design engineering team recommends, as one of the commenters earlier said, a concrete wall. Well, the soil nail, sculpted concrete soil nail wall was after quite a few iterations, actually.
Right.
And a lot of public comment, et cetera. But the original was just simply hard armoring with the least expensive method, which was riprap.
Right.
But there was a lot of reasons why, and legitimately so. We ended up going with what I also consider a better alternative. The board ended up voting to go with, which was the best alternative, but the Living Shoreline alternative. However, that took literally years and a lot of money.
It's the process.
Regretfully,
Yeah.
now could we? Would it have been better in retrospect to have hired maybe a different design engineering firm that would have started with that originally? Well, we don't get to choose our design engineering firm. We have to go with the lowest qualified bidder. And the lowest qualified bidder was the contractor or the design engineering team that we went with. So all I'm getting at with all that is that's just the design engineering portion of it, which obviously costs quadrupled in the design engineering portion of it. Then we ended up getting into the actual contractor bidding on it. And when contractors bid on an invitation for a bid that we put out, based on the technical specifications that our design engineering team put together, we don't really have, we have an engineer's estimate of what we think it might cost. And that's what Julie has to use, for budgeting.
Right.
But what the design, or what the actual contractors bid on, and we take the lowest qualified bidder, what those actual bids end up being, with all of the changes that take place by the time, the original project bid was estimated, then 7 years later, it's nobody's guess. And that's what happens to us. Now, what we could do, and I'll talk with general manager as we progress going forward to get more accurate budget numbers, is when the board directs us to move forward with the project, the first thing we should be maybe doing is hiring an estimation firm that can give us an estimate on what design engineering, exactly what design engineering will realistically cost, and then what the actual project will realistically cost, then bring that back to the board to make a more informed decision. But again, that would be assuming that everything goes completely smooth and the project is as we imagine it. And changes. Yeah.
I mean, I just want you to know, I'm not being critical of any of you. I just, want to make sure that we don't get into this problem again.
Well, we keep improving our projects as we go along,
Yeah.
and the costs keep going up.
We've done
And,
several projects that have been right at budget.
Yeah.
I just finished totally repaving the the C lot 1, 2, and 3. And as you may notice next time you're at Pillar Point Harbor, we've improved the coastal trail as well as it goes down to the Half Moon Bay Kayak and the new Oceansider. And we paved the Johnson Pier Road all the way, Pillar Point Harbor Road, all the way to the launch ramp as well. We repaved and striped all of the trailer parking area, new ADA parking spaces they had to flatten. All of that was, first of all, I did the design engineering portion of it.
Which helps.
I'm just saying we didn't have to pay for a design engineering team. And I put together an invitation for bid under the general manager's direction and assistance. And so we saved all those costs. And the lowest bid came in exactly at, I'll say, what we anticipated being, including a change order, which actually ended up being under our our old contingency amount of 10%. And that is generally what we'll say, ask the board to approve, is a 10% contingency for construction. Now, in this instance, they worked with us significantly, those contractors, in negotiation, and they added in the whole trail improvement for us, which we did end up using the 10% contingency though.
But that was a significant improvement that we got back.
Yes, and
Right?
again,
We're not getting anything back from these increased costs, except increased costs.
Well, no, we're getting improved projects, but we start out with bare bones and then we start adding things and.
That's accurate. And what I was getting at is just a lot of our projects, like Romeo Pier, we came in at budget, roughly, with the 10%
I think you said the
contingency.
ADA parking, didn't you?
Yep, a lot of our projects, we're coming in right at what we anticipate the budget being. However, these other projects did significantly develop into just more challenging projects for multiple reasons. And it is accurate that we should build in maybe more than a 10%.
That's what I
contingency,
was thinking.
We're building by the coast in the challenging coastal environment.
Process,
With
too.
all of the challenges with permitting, which that alone can be very expensive.
So do you think that the 10% contingency, if we increase it, I mean, should it be 20%?
There's argument, I would say, to continue to shoot for that 10% contingency. However, maybe on the front end, spending monies to get more accurate estimates at the beginning of the project.
I mean, okay, I totally get that. Because now it looks like, before all of these numbers came to light, it could be construed as the district having more money than it actually has. So it could affect negotiations, and I'm not saying that's the case now. I'm just trying to look to the future so that we're being accurate and not creating a narrative that actually would put us in not the best situation from a fiscal responsibility perspective when we deal with contract negotiations in the future.
And our team can more frequently reevaluate the real cost of things, I guess, to update instead of just, when a project's inception, we anticipated the amount being this, but maybe 1 year later, hey, where are we now with it? And then readjust the original amounts and let the board be more informed instead of just, I guess what we've been doing, my understanding, is kind of just leaving in, like for the retail center right now.
Right.
We're still, next month, we're going to be bringing back to our board an update, and that design engineering team, because that project with all the public discussion and input, that project may very well, the board may very well approve those adjustments that our design engineering team are going to suggest based on all of that public input and the input from our design engineering team in general and the committee that's assigned. The board may want to expand that project, and that will not only impact the monies that we already have budgeted for design engineering, but it will also significantly impact the monies for construction.
Right. I mean, you could run out of money for construction just from dealing with design engineering. I mean, that's what it, so anyway,
Anyway, lots to discuss
consider.
on future projects, and I'm glad that we are addressing this in reference to future projects, because this is I'm sure every single one of the cost increases in the projects that we've been doing have been good and beneficial for the public, but it's not maybe so good for the budget. So that's why we're making this recommendation, and now we have a motion and a second.
Okay. Moving along here, thanks, John, for the clarification discussion on that item. One item, I think, before looking at the motion, Jim, did you want to add the deferral of a portion of the dredge project to the motion right now includes items 1 through 4. You had a fifth item of deferring 3.7 million of the
Yes,
dredge project.
include that, but it should naturally fall because of the timing of
The timing will work that way anyway.
So this is one of the major reasons the board the staff brought it to the finance committee and then to the board here is, again, that public awareness and the board awareness of those increased costs so that we can better adjust our budget in the future, but also provide information to the public on what costs the district's incurring if these projects. So, yes, including the deferral so that our budget document adds up would be important.
Yeah.
well then, so should I amend my motion to include that fifth item, which is to split the fiscal years with the Surfers Beach pilot project? Because I can amend that. I'll
Yes,
amend my
my
motion to
recommendation would be
include,
to-
okay, so I'll amend my motion to include, for deferring or reassigning to the future fiscal years, this fifth item, which is to split the fiscal years with the Surfers Beach pilot project.
Oh, I'll amend my second.
And it's kind of a paperwork exercise.
Right, but it should be here for
Just so it's
clarity.
clear.
Yeah.
Just to check in again, we had a long discussion. Any hands raised while we were, okay. Good, we have a motion then. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Chang Crowley,
Aye?
Commissioner Slater Carter,
Yes.
President Zemke.
Aye. Okay, that brings us to item number G, which is a closed session, so
Can I?
we will.
If I can make a
Can I make a
recommendation before we go to
Yeah.
closed session is to extend the meeting.
I was just going to I was just going to ask that and make the motion, what time do you think extended to 5 p.m.?
To be safe, I would say 5 PM.
Okay, I'll make a motion to extend our meeting to 5 PM.
I'll second that then.
I was literally going to bring that up.
Yes. Gives us a step. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Chang Crawley?
Aye.
Commissioner Slater Carter? Yes. President Zemke?
Aye. Okay, we will now break and go into
Closed session.
closed session.
Take a quick- Is there?
Recording stopped.
There's no public.
We are back from our closed session, and we have no reportable items to report from the closed session. And the final item we'll talk about here is future agenda items.
So
If we
we
have-
had 3, right, that we wanted on there. The memorial bench policy.
Policy.
That's the one I wanted.
Me too. And then you had another one. What were the other 2?
No, the others I was talking about just in consideration in the future, but the memorial bench one is,
No, but we were looking at the slip rate thing, that
oh, we
report.
tabled that, we
Oh,
tabled
we
that.
tabled that, okay.
So
There's
3 things that, if the board approves the memorial bench agenda item that we discussed, there's 2 others that we simply tabled, and those were the formal acceptance of the ADA Catch Joanne restroom, and then the
slip fee.
bringing back the slip fees with more information for the board to consider. And those are the 3 items that I recall.
I think I'm wrong. Okay, so basically it's that one, the memorial bench issue.
Yeah. So, are we adjourned?
Okay, I think that includes it. I will entertain the motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
President Zemke?
Aye.
Commissioner Chang Crawley?
Aye.
Commissioner Slater Carter?
No.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
We heard you, okay.
I just thought, I have had this